And good evening, everyone. I'm Erin Burnett. We begin out front tonight with the breaking news. Murder at LAX. We're expecting a press conference any minute now with the FBI at Los Angeles International Airport. Literally could start any second. We're watching those microphones, and we're going to bring that to you as soon as it happens. There are still so many unanswered questions about the horrific act of violence today, which certainly, safe to say, feels like an act of domestic terrorism. We have some dramatic new video that shows the chaos and pandemonium that took place inside the airport terminal during the shooting. This is video that was obtained by the website TMZ at LAX right after those shots were first fired.
Chill, 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 chill. Come on, you guys. This is crazy, dog.
Stress, fear, but remarkably orderly for all of that. The deadly shooting took place in one of the busiest airports in the United States. One TSA officer shot to death, the first ever to be killed in the line of duty. 3 others wounded. Hundreds of passengers were sent running in a state of panic.
There was a guy downstairs, started shooting, and one guy fell down. Panic erupted, and he was heading up through the security check.
My husband just grabbed me and put me on the floor, and I was really scared and crying, and, you know, I was panicked.
The only thing I could do was just like keep my eyes down the hallway to make sure he wasn't coming down and just try to keep calm. But I mean, everybody was just going crazy.
And here's how the scene unfolded this morning.
9:20 this morning, an individual came into Terminal 3 of this airport, pulled a assault rifle out of a bag and began to open fire in the terminal. He proceeded up into the screening area where TSA screeners are and continued shooting and went past the screeners back into the airport itself.
The gunman is identified as 23-year-old Paul Anthony Ciancia. He's in critical condition tonight, shot 3 times in the chest by police. And I want to show you some of the dramatic images. These are taken by passengers inside the airport. Right here, you can see a gun at the foot of that law enforcement officer. That is exactly where police confronted the shooter. So you can see his weapon on the floor, an assault rifle, and we're going to have more on that in just a moment. As this was all unfolding, people were hiding everywhere there could. So you can see this is a bathroom, which was then at that point jam-packed. And the security checkpoint became completely abandoned, as you see here. People dropped everything, left their luggage, and ran. And we have the latest details from our reporters, experts covering this tonight from all the angles, because there are so many crucial questions. I want to begin, though, with Casey Wyan. He's been there through the day. He's live outside LAX. And, Casey, what are police telling you right now as we await this live press conference from the FBI?
Well, as you mentioned, the FBI has identified, Aaron, the shooter is Paul Anthony Ciancia, 23 years old, of Los Angeles. They are not at this point speculating on any potential motive. They do say, though, that they believe he acted alone. They describe the situation inside LAX right now as static, meaning no one inside the airport is in any kind of danger. Law enforcement sources, though, tell CNN that witnesses describe him asking people if they were TSA, and if they answered no, he would move on. So obviously that's one area that law enforcement will be looking into, and perhaps we may hear more about that from the FBI at a news conference when it begins just in a moment, Aaron.
Yes, and we do have that press conference, Casey, starting right now. We're going to go to that as FBI officials are walking up to the cameras. I'll tell you, the representative special agent in charge is a man named David Bowditch. I'm not sure if he'll start speaking, but let's start listening now.
A few minutes ago, I got off the phone with the President of the United States. He called to express his sympathies for what happened here in Los Angeles earlier today, to express his support for the family of the fallen, and to ensure that anything we need, we will get from the federal government. He also informed me that TSA Administrator John Pistol will be coming out here tomorrow to the scene. First of all, our thoughts and prayers are are today with the families, loved ones, and the colleagues of the fallen. An attack like this tests our resolve, asks who we are and how we respond to moments like this, in the line of fire and in our recovery. It is a tremendous testament that today, a day that started with horrific attacks, is now ending with Los Angeles International Airport beginning to reopen. This morning, a gunman opened fire in LAX's Terminal 3, killing a TSA agent, the first to die in the line of duty, and shooting 2 other people, at least one of which was a TSA agent. Additional individuals have had minor injuries and have been treated. Airport police officers engaged the suspect, opened fire, wounded him, and took him into custody. The suspect has been identified as Paul Anthony Ciancia, 23, a resident of Los Angeles. Right now, LAX terminals, with the exception of number 3, are reopening as fast as logistically possible. But travelers should expect delays and should check with their airlines for flight information. Our first priority is safety, and I know there's tremendous pressure for the traveling public to get on their planes, to feel that they are secure, but we want them to be safe first and foremost. So every part of this airport must be cleared before terminals can reopen. Freeways and surface streets are now open, but again, the area around LAX should be avoided unless you have clear information on your flight and need to be in the area. We also have a hotline for travelers needing a hotel near LAX. They should call 1-888-831-7176. One of the lessons of 9/11 was the need to work seamlessly across jurisdictions. Ironically, we had the FBI director here earlier today. One of the things he expressed was how well this region works together before we knew this incident was going to happen. I've personally witnessed, as mayor of this city, the seamlessness between agencies, between different levels of government, and I personally want to thank each of the men and women across the federal, state, and local agencies that today have done incredible work. I want to commend those departments for their coordinated response, and we'll hear again from a number of speakers. But one last thing, I want to thank the volunteers, the staff at Los Angeles World Airports, the Red Cross, our civilian teams that fanned out, whether it was to get people into hotels or pass out water, to help feed some of the stranded, and to ensure that traffic was flowing. This was really a team effort. Now I'd like to, for the update on the incident itself and some of the criminal aspects of it, ask again Special Agent in charge, David Vouch, to come forward to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chief Beck. Thank you, Chief Gannon. First off, I'd like to thank the media for your patience. This is a very large-scale investigation. The crime scene is extensive. We are currently applying a tremendous number of resources in conjunction with our partners from LAPD and Los Angeles World Airport Police. Today, we are going to confirm the identity of the subject. It is Paul Anthony Ciancia. That's C-I-A-N-C-I-A. He's 23 years old. He is a U.S. citizen. He's formerly a resident of New Jersey. We are currently investigating his background and more about him. I'm not going to provide too many updates on that at this point. The decedent's identity is not going to be confirmed out of respect to the families. The families are going through a very difficult time today, but we are going to confirm that it was a TSA employee who is actually the decedent in this case. There is at least one additional TSA employee who was wounded by gunshot. There are additional injuries, some of which seem to be potential evasion injuries where they may have injured themselves trying to get away. At this point, we have one terminal shut down, and we will have that shut down for a while we continue the investigation. The forensics teams are in there from both the FBI as well as LAPD. Their work is long and methodical, and they will take their time on this to be complete in their investigation. We do have a tip line I would like to pass out. That tip line is an FBI tip line. The number is 1-888-226-8443. I would seek the public's assistance if they have information which would be beneficial to this investigation, and we ask that they please keep it to that. We would like to know about it. We do have that line staffed right now. It is available, and we are ready to run those leads. Additional information, I know you want all the facts. We can't provide those to you at this point. I see some of you smiling. We're not going to give any.
And obviously, we just lost the signal there, but you were listening, of course, to the FBI counterterrorism agent in charge of the investigation now at Los Angeles Airport, David Bowditch. I believe we have our signal back, so we'll go back and listen to him.
About the operations right now of this airport, what is moving forward as we speak, and some of the great work that her staff did today. Gina Marie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Between 9:30 this morning and approximately 3 p.m. this afternoon, there were about 746 flights that were affected. 46 of those were diverted to other local airports. The rest were either held on the ground here at LAX or at their originating airport. We are glad to report that Terminals 1 and 2 are now in the process of being repopulated. Employees first, TSA employees, airline and concessionaire employees in place, and then passengers will be allowed back into those terminals. Terminal 3 and parking structure 3 will remain closed for the time being. Any folks who have flights tomorrow with the airlines that typically operate out of Terminal 3 should contact the airline for specific information. We expect to be operating those flights, but probably through a busing procedure at the remote gates. We will also, on the LAX Twitter feed, be providing as much information as we understand what the operational details will be for those flights. The FAA National Ground Stop on Arrivals for LAX is scheduled to be lifted at 4 p.m. today. Lastly, I just want to tell the public and the travelers and all of those who are intending to meet or bid those travelers adieu, thank you for your patience. This has been a trying day for everyone I know. For those who are awaiting arriving passengers, we're going to be busing those passengers to Lot C at 98th and Sepulveda. So within the next 2 hours, the arriving passengers should be there for pickup. I want to reiterate the hotel hotline that is being provided by LA Tourism and Convention Board. That is 1-888-831-7176. Passengers stranded at LAX certainly are encouraged to call that hotline for accommodations. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to keep monitoring this press conference as it continues on. We expect to hear from the LAPD, from fire department officials. As we get more information, we're going to bring that into you. But again, the key headline here, of course, confirming the identity of the 23-year-old man. Paul Ciancia is his name, resident of the Los Angeles area, who was responsible for shooting and killing the first TSA officer to ever be killed in the line of duty. And also, as you heard the FBI counterterrorism agent in charge indicate, there was another TSA officer who is still injured tonight. I want to bring in Todd Friedman, who's joining me on the phone from the airport. He was standing 25 feet away from the gunman when the shooting began. Todd, thank you for taking the time. I know you're still at the airport, but let me start by asking you, just feet away this morning when this happened, what did you say?
Anything, and by the way, my phone's about to die, so I'll try to be quick. We were just literally walking in. I was handing my ID over. We heard 5 loud shots right behind us. We all dove behind the ticketing, conveyor belts. We heard more shots. We all ran into a nearby office. We locked ourselves in, closed out the lights, and just watched and waited for about 20 minutes until the police, came and told us it was safe to go outside. And then we've been in the international terminal, and we just got released just now.
And how many shots total did you hear, Todd? I know you mentioned at first you heard 5 or 6, but how many in total? Do you remember?
Maybe like 12 to 20. Maybe 12 to 15.
12 to 15 or 20. Okay. And just how afraid were you and others? I mean, this is not a situation you would ever have anticipated happening. You don't know how you're going to react until it happens to you. What was your reaction?
we were freaked out, but more like in shock and more like in survival mode at that point in time. Maybe when we have time to reflect on it, we'll be a little bit more afraid. But yeah, it was a pretty scary situation. Kind of surreal.
And as you mentioned, Todd, you've been there now for many hours. Obviously, I know you were going to go away for the weekend, but are you, and we're looking now at a live picture of, I don't know, 50 people maybe, but I mean, you're looking at overpasses that would be full of cars with people walking.